You're obnoxious. You have absolutely no values that exist outside of the Talmud. You describe yourself as a Talmudic Jew, and I've learned what's in that Talmud, and I encourage other people at home to learn what is in that Talmud so that you know what Ben thinks.
You have absolutely no values. That is the sound of a bridge burning, and Candace Owens just lit the match. In what might be the most explosive leak in conservative media history, Candace has dropped a bombshell that changes everything we thought we knew about the tragic end of Charlie Kirk's legacy. We aren't just talking about office politics anymore. We are talking about alleged secret military meetings, falsified alibis, and a power struggle so dark it was never meant to see the light of day. Candace Owens has leaked evidence that allegedly exposes both Ben Shapiro and Erica Kirk's ex, Cabot Phillips, accusing them of moving silently behind the scenes to block Charlie's rise before his untimely passing. But the twist is even more disturbing. While Ben and Cabot act as the protectors of Charlie's memory, Candace claims she has proof that Cabot was attending a closed-door meeting at a military base just hours before the tragedy, a meeting he denies ever attending. With accusations of photoshopped evidence, altered metadata, and a cover-up that goes all the way to the top of the Daily Wire, the internet is in a meltdown. Was Charlie Kirk betrayed by the very people now claiming to represent him?
Maybe we should also ask a question. Is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says because, Ben, some people would accuse Israel of wanting to ethnically cleanse.
Buckle up, because Candace is pulling back the curtain, and what's behind it is terrifying. Candace Owens just dropped major revelations calling out both Ben Shapiro and Erica Kirk's ex, Cabot Phillips, for allegedly moving behind the scenes to block Charlie Kirk's rise. But here's the twist. Now, both Ben and Cabot are suddenly acting like they've always been devoted to protecting Charlie's legacy. Apparently, Cabot's loyalty runs so deep that TPUSA has already chosen him as Charlie's replacement. But things take a darker turn after Candace recently claimed that Cabot might have attended a closed-door military meeting the night before the tragic incident involving Charlie. According to Candace, what's unfolding looks like one powerful network, and she's making it clear the public was never supposed to see behind that curtain. But apparently, Charlie never saw it coming. According to Candace, these same people were secretly working to hold him back.
Now, the Cabot Phillips thing is also very interesting. Well, it also turns out that Cabot Phillips, from September 4th all the way through to September 10th until September 11th, took a vacation and he wasn't on a show.
And by the time he realized what was happening, it was already too late. Now, let's start with Ben Shapiro, because Candace completely exposed him on her podcast, showing actual screenshots that prove he was never truly supportive of Charlie from the beginning. Candace revealed private messages between her and Charlie, where Charlie expressed concern that Ben might be trying to quietly sabotage both of their careers. In one of the messages, Charlie warned Candace to treat Ben like background noise, saying Ben only wanted her to react and bring him attention. He even added that Ben's respect among key voices in the movement was pretty low. But it didn't stop there. Charlie hinted that Ben's actions had more to do with him than anyone realized, using a wild Game of Thrones metaphor, saying that Ben knew Jon Snow was stronger than the dragons that fly higher. Together, Charlie and Candace agreed that Ben saw Charlie as competition. Then, Charlie doubled down with another line, suggesting Ben was sending his brother to come after them. A coded way of saying that whatever moves Ben was planning, it wouldn't be pretty. Things got even more intense when Candace mentioned that Ben supposedly disliked Charlie for supporting her. Charlie allegedly replied that it was even deeper, that Ben wanted total control over her voice. After fans started questioning if the messages were real, Candace fired back, saying not only were they real, but she had hundreds more that proved Ben was never in Charlie's corner and actively worked against him. As she put it, that's just one out of about 300. Candace said she can practically picture Charlie smiling right now, laughing at the boldness of Ben trying to paint her as the villain while acting like he's defending Charlie's legacy. "One day, Charlie and I will laugh about this together," she said, making it clear that she sees right through the act. Then, on a recent episode of her podcast, Candace went even harder, calling Ben obnoxious and accusing him of disliking anyone who isn't part of his inner circle. But what's really catching people's attention online is Charlie's final interview with Ben Shapiro, which happened less than 48 hours before Charlie's tragic passing. In that conversation, Charlie pushed back hard on several of Ben's usual arguments, and Ben could barely keep up. Viewers noticed that Charlie began asking questions that some insiders considered off-limits, and Ben's reaction said it all. He was clearly uncomfortable with where things were heading. Many of Charlie's supporters now believe that he may have crossed a boundary that certain powerful figures didn't want him to cross, and that this sudden shift in tone might have had serious consequences. But things take an even stranger turn when you look deeper into another mysterious figure connected to all this: Ben's employee at the Daily Wire and Erica Kirk's ex, Cabot Phillips. According to a source Candace spoke with during her show, both Cabot and Erica were allegedly seen at a private meeting on a military base the night before Charlie's passing. Candace even interviewed a veteran named Mitch, who claims he personally witnessed a secret gathering take place that night at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, just hours before everything changed. According to Candace, Mitch, the veteran who's been sharing his story, has stayed remarkably consistent about what he witnessed that night. He even named a few people who were allegedly present at that secret meeting, including someone tied to TPUSA, a man named Brian Harpo, who reportedly managed a security company connected to Utah Valley University around September 10th. But that's not where it ends. Candace claimed that Mitch also spotted someone who looked exactly like Cabot Phillips. After she sent him a picture of Cabot, Mitch confirmed that it was the same man he saw at the meeting. And then comes another twist. Mitch went on Candace's show live and said that the night before, while in a hotel lobby, he saw a blonde woman with sharp features who looked just like Erica Kirk. Once those revelations hit the internet, social media exploded with users demanding answers from Cabot about these alleged sightings. But instead of staying quiet, Cabot fired back with what he called proof. He posted a picture online claiming he was shopping for a gender reveal party in Nashville on September 8th, far away from any base. He even shared security footage from his office, along with a family photo featuring his wife and child, writing in his response to Candace, "I was not at Fort Huachuca on September 8th or 9th. I've never been there. I was home in Nashville both days. That afternoon, I went with my wife to an ultrasound and later picked up balloons for a gender reveal with our son." After Cabot released his public statement and photos, the internet didn't calm down. It erupted even louder. Many people felt like the so-called proof only raised more questions instead of clearing his name. Some online users claimed the timestamps on the footage didn't line up, while others pointed out that the image metadata could easily be changed. It didn't help that Cabot's post came just hours after Candace's latest episode went viral, sparking theories that his response was rushed damage control rather than a genuine effort to clear things up. Meanwhile, Candace doubled down. On her next live stream, she played Mitch's interview again, this time pausing and analyzing every detail. She highlighted the consistency in his tone and the specific names he mentioned, insisting that no one would be able to make up those kinds of details out of thin air. She reminded her viewers that Mitch wasn't just any random witness. He was a veteran who had worked near military intelligence units for years. That alone, Candace claimed, made his testimony too informed to ignore. And that's when things started to spiral. Social media threads began compiling side-by-side timelines of everyone involved. When Cabot supposedly left Utah, when he arrived in Nashville, and when Charlie's final movements were last confirmed. Comment sections filled up with screenshots, flight trackers, and hotel receipts that people were sharing online, each one claiming to have uncovered a piece of the puzzle. Even though none of it has been officially verified, the conversation took on a life of its own, with thousands of users trying to connect the dots themselves. A few insiders close to TPUSA also started speaking anonymously to smaller podcasts. One of them said there were unusual security briefings in the weeks before Charlie's passing, where senior staff were warned about sensitive discussions and told to avoid leaks. Another claimed that a private meeting involving outside consultants really did happen, but refused to say where or who attended. None of these accounts have been proven, but they added even more fuel to the speculation that Candace's claims might have some truth buried underneath all the drama. Cabot, for his part, continued posting family content and positive quotes on his social media. To his followers, it looked like an attempt to move past the controversy, but to others, it seemed like strategic image repair. He didn't directly address Candace again, though fans noticed that several of his older posts mentioning Charlie were quietly deleted. That tiny detail caught everyone's attention, with commenters asking why he would erase anything if he truly had nothing to hide. Ben Shapiro, on the other hand, seemed eager to distance himself from the mess entirely. He didn't issue a formal statement, but clips from his latest show suggested that he considered Candace's ongoing discussion a personal obsession. Still, fans couldn't help noticing the tension between the two former colleagues. Their public back and forth over Charlie's legacy turned into one of the biggest digital feuds of the year, not because of what was proven, but because of how much remained unclear. Through it all, Charlie's old supporters continued revisiting his interviews and speeches, trying to decode what he might have known. Some of them pointed to that final sit-down with Ben, the one that happened less than 2 days before his tragic passing, as evidence that Charlie was stepping on dangerous ground. In that interview, he had challenged the political establishment in ways that even his allies found uncomfortable. He was asking questions about funding, loyalty, and influence, subjects that powerful people usually prefer to keep quiet. Watching it now feels almost eerie, with fans describing it as Charlie's final warning. Candace later said she had no intention of letting the matter fade into silence. On another podcast episode, she revealed that she's been gathering testimonies from former staff members who claimed Charlie expressed fears about being set up in the months leading up to the incident. She emphasized that she isn't accusing anyone directly, only pushing for transparency about what really happened behind the scenes. Her tone was serious, but not theatrical. She made it clear that the goal was accountability, not chaos. As for the wider public, opinions remain deeply divided. Some believe Candace is courageously uncovering uncomfortable truths that others are too scared to touch. Others think she's stirring unnecessary drama for attention. The debate has spilled beyond podcasts and social media into mainstream commentary, with journalists cautiously covering the feud while avoiding any definitive claims. Everyone agrees on one thing, though: the story refuses to die down. Weeks later, another twist hit when a former USA contractor anonymously leaked a list of travel reimbursements and meeting notes. The documents, though incomplete, hinted at several names that matched people Candace had mentioned, including one referencing an evening briefing in Arizona that same weekend. Critics said the documents could easily be fake, but supporters argued that it was too specific to ignore. Once again, the cycle of claims, denials, and online investigations reignited like wildfire. In the midst of all this noise, the central mystery remains unsolved. Who exactly attended that private gathering? Why were there so many overlapping timelines? And most importantly, what was Charlie really working on before it all ended? Every answer seems to open 10 new questions, and every new piece of information brings the story back into headlines. For now, Candace says she's not backing down. She's hinted that she has more material yet to release: messages, audio clips, maybe even sworn statements. Whether that evidence will finally clarify what happened or just deepen the confusion is anyone's guess. But one thing's for sure: whatever went down between these figures has permanently changed how people view alliances, loyalty, and truth inside that circle. Charlie may no longer be here to explain his side, but his name continues to spark conversations across the country. And every new revelation ensures that the mystery surrounding his final days won't be forgotten anytime soon. As the tension between Candace, Ben, and Cabot kept heating up, it started to feel less like a feud and more like a full-blown reckoning. What began as a few leaked texts and one podcast episode turned into a deep web of whispers, timelines, and unanswered questions. The more Candace spoke, the more people started to believe there was something much bigger, hiding behind all the polished statements and smiling photos. By midweek, social media was filled with hashtags calling for transparency and justice for Charlie. Clips from Candace's podcast were trending across multiple platforms, especially the parts where she talked about Charlie's final weeks, describing how he grew distant from certain colleagues and hinted that he didn't trust everyone around him anymore. That struck a nerve. People began to re-watch old videos of Charlie, analyzing every gesture, every pause, and every cryptic comment he'd made about keeping your circle tight. But while the online world was buzzing, something strange was happening behind the scenes. According to insiders close to Candace's team, some individuals who had agreed to speak out suddenly backed off. One even reportedly deleted their social media entirely after receiving what Candace described as intimidating messages. She mentioned it briefly during a livestream, saying, "When people start vanishing from the conversation, that tells you someone's nervous about the truth getting out." Meanwhile, Ben Shapiro continued to project confidence on his end, pretending as if the drama didn't exist. He stuck to business as usual, recording new episodes, discussing world affairs, and carefully steering clear of Charlie's name. But people noticed the silence. It didn't go unnoticed that for someone who claimed to be defending Charlie's legacy, Ben was refusing to address the growing controversy head-on. Cabot, on the other hand, kept posting cheerful updates about his family, seemingly trying to drown the noise in positivity. But that strategy didn't exactly work. Comment sections under his posts became flooded with questions, accusations, and demands for proof that he wasn't involved in anything shady. Each time he stayed silent, speculation only grew louder. Some users even compared his behavior to PR ghosting, keeping quiet long enough for the internet to move on. Then came another twist. Candace's team released snippets of voice recordings from anonymous sources claiming that the military meeting wasn't just a rumor. These clips didn't name anyone directly, but one voice described seeing civilian guests being escorted through a restricted area that night, an unusual occurrence that immediately reignited the controversy. While the authenticity of the recordings couldn't be confirmed, it was enough to send the internet into another frenzy. At that point, even mainstream outlets started covering the story, though cautiously. They described it as a digital storm fueled by mistrust, politics, and personal grudges. Commentators debated whether Candace's investigation was legitimate or just sensational, but even her critics admitted that she had managed to pull together a narrative strong enough to make people question the official silence. Through all of this, Charlie's old colleagues and friends seemed divided. Some defended his legacy quietly, saying he wouldn't have wanted his name dragged into online warfare. Others believed this exposure was exactly what he would have wanted, the truth coming out, no matter how messy. One former associate reportedly told a journalist, "Charlie always believed in shaking the system, not serving it. If he were alive, he'd be doing the same thing Candace is doing right now." The deeper Candace went, the more tangled everything became. She claimed that several people within TPUSA had conflicting accounts about their whereabouts the week of Charlie's final public appearance. Even more suspicious, a few emails that once existed in internal archives seemed to have disappeared. When questioned, the organization gave no comment, saying only that privacy protocols prevented them from discussing former staff activity. That explanation didn't satisfy anyone. Viewers began demanding accountability from leadership, asking why every time Candace released new information, another piece of data mysteriously vanished. It started to feel like a chess game. Every move she made was followed by an invisible countermove designed to confuse or discredit her. Still, Candace kept going. On one of her most viewed episodes, she declared that this wasn't about revenge or attention. It was about integrity. She said, "People think I'm doing this to stir the pot, but the truth matters. Charlie deserves honesty. The public deserves honesty." That moment hit hard. Even people who didn't always agree with her began to admit that she had a point, that whether or not everything she claimed was proven, the silence of the powerful was impossible to ignore. As the weeks went on, the story started shaping into something bigger than just a feud. It became a symbol of what happens when influence, loyalty, and ambition collide. Everyone involved seemed to be playing their own version of damage control, but no one was truly off the hook. Ben tried to act untouched, Cabot tried to act innocent, and Candace kept pushing forward, determined to expose what she believed the world needed to see. Then came Cabot's attempt to end it all. "It's a boy," Cabot proudly wrote online. "If anyone was wondering, the next morning, I was back at work as usual. Well, here are the photos and security footage to prove it. Go touch some grass, folks. You're being lied to." At first glance, it all sounded convincing. Clean, confident, and final. But when people began looking closer, things didn't seem to line up quite as neatly as Cabot wanted them to. Sharp-eyed internet users quickly noticed something odd about the photos he posted. The magazines stacked behind him at the checkout counter didn't match the issue dates from the week the photo was supposedly taken. Those minor details, the covers, the colors, the release dates, set off alarms across social media. Within hours, people began compiling side-by-side comparisons, showing that those exact magazines weren't even on shelves until days later. That's when the controversy exploded again. To make matters worse, Cabot's post came just after Candace's newest episode aired, where she laid out what she called the inconsistencies in the timeline. For a lot of people watching this feud unfold, the timing felt a little too convenient. Some began wondering if Cabot's sudden post was more about deflecting attention than proving anything. In response to the growing speculation, Cabot claimed that Candace had already received the original file and its metadata, and that she was reviewing it. It was supposed to sound like full transparency, but instead, it just raised more eyebrows. Candace quickly went public again, saying she was still waiting for him to text her the actual photo. On X, she explained why this mattered so much. For everyone who doesn't know how iPhone metadata works, she said you can change it easily on any photo you capture. She even went the extra mile, posting a video demonstration showing how effortlessly you can edit the time and location on a picture. She showed that with just a few taps, you could make a photo taken months ago look like it happened last night and move the location tag from Utah to Nashville in seconds. But her real point came next. "If I receive the original file by text, I can trace those edits," she explained. "I just want Cabot to send it over directly. No screenshots, no downloads, just a simple text. Then we'll know the truth." That statement changed everything, because by saying that, Candace wasn't just calling him out. She was setting a test. If Cabot was truly innocent, why not just send the original file straight to her phone? It was a simple ask. But according to Candace, that text never came. At that point, the internet divided into camps. Some people defended Cabot, saying the whole situation had gone too far and that personal family photos shouldn't be turned into evidence for online investigators. Others weren't buying it. They felt that if Cabot really had nothing to hide, proving it would have been easy. "If you're innocent, just text the photo," one user wrote. "It takes 10 seconds. That post alone racked up thousands of likes. Then, just when people thought things couldn't get more chaotic, someone reshared screenshots claiming to show that the store in Cabot's photo had actually been closed that same day for renovations, meaning the image might have been taken long before the supposed gender reveal trip. Whether that's true or not remains unclear, but the story had already reached a point where every new discovery felt like another twist in an ongoing thriller. Meanwhile, Ben Shapiro tried to stay completely silent through all of this, pretending the drama didn't exist, but that only fueled the flames. Every time Candace mentioned Ben's name, clips from their past collaborations resurfaced, videos where they looked friendly, unified, and unstoppable. Seeing that now, people couldn't help but ask, when did everything start falling apart? By now, the tone online had shifted. This wasn't just about one missing text or one questionable photo. It was about trust. People started wondering how many other stories, statements, or proofs from big public figures could be just as easily manipulated. At this stage, no one can say for sure who is telling the whole truth. Candace insists her information is solid. Cabot swears he is innocent, and the rest of the public is left trying to piece together fragments of photos, metadata, and rumors. But when you scroll through the comments, one message keeps repeating over and over: trust is gone. Many of Charlie's own fans, the people who once supported every project tied to his name, are now openly saying they don't believe either Ben Shapiro or Cabot Phillips anymore. The narrative has shifted completely, from defending reputations to defending what's left of Charlie's legacy. It's a story that feels far from over, because every time one side tries to close the book, the other drops another piece of evidence, another claim, another reason to keep watching. And one thing is certain, people are watching closely now. So I want to hear from you. What do you think? Is Cabot's photo story airtight, or are there still cracks in the timeline that can't be ignored? Do you believe Candace is uncovering a conspiracy, or is this just online chaos? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay updated on this developing story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into the stories they never want you to question. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.